Hi, everybody. How was your leap year? Because it's March 1st. And either last night or tonight, we saw Dune Part 2.
Did we?
Uh-huh.
What'd you think?
Favorite movie of the year. It'll only get beat by Furiosa later this year. Okay. That's the only movie that's got even a whisper of a shot of a chance. Hey.
What's up?
What do you want to talk about today?
Lethal Weapon 2.
Lethal Weapon 2. March 1st. And we say, it's time to talk about Lethal Weapon 2. Okay, folks, it's the Macabre Podcast universe. Enough with the chit-chat. Let's cut the S.
I'm Jordan. That's Micah. We're married. We exist to prove people wrong when they say sequels are never better than the originals.
And here we are. We're talking about a Macabre classic movie, which is, of course, Lethal Weapon 2. So, hit me with it. What's your
Technically, the second time I've seen it, did not remember just about anything. So it felt like watching it for the first time. Exponentially leaps and bounds, better than the first one. Not even a contest.
Okay.
This one I genuinely liked.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, this has always been a classic for us. We would watch this one all the time. And yes, I have a very funny story to tell later. At least I think it's very funny. So there's your little tease to listen to the whole episode. Yeah, I mean,
why don't you share it now? What are we waiting for?
Let's tease it out, Jordan. Let's wait till we get to the scene because it's specific to a scene.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a common refrain amongst my sister and I.
Really?
Throughout high school was okay. Which is about as annoying as it gets when it's not Joe Pesci doing it.
Oh, yeah.
I did see someone I follow on Letterboxd mention him being the most annoying movie character in history, and I'm like,
what?
Nah. I'm here for the Pesh. My
big takeaway was, should we put Joe Pesci in every franchise?
I saw that on your Letterboxd.
Especially any franchise that's getting stale. Do you just throw some Pesh?
You sprinkle some Pesh in there?
Yeah.
I think that might be a solution. I'm very curious because I don't remember the plots of the third or fourth movie. I'm like, how do they bring him back? Because he's like witness protection, but he's in the rest of the movies.
I mean, he's a money guy though, so maybe they consult him.
I just feel like it's going to be real sweaty each time that he gets back. It's like he's back for some reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this has always been a favorite at our house. We'd watch it all the time. I think I've said that maybe 8 times in this episode already.
I think you need to stop saying it.
Maybe I should just talk about how this movie's made.
Yeah.
Okay. Richard Donner, he makes Lethal Weapon 1, then he makes Scrooged.
Have you ever seen that?
No.
Will we ever watch it?
Maybe, probably. I feel like I can't figure out if people like that movie or not.
Me neither.
Because it seems like people who didn't watch it when they were a kid are like, that movie's terrible. And then people who did are like, it's one of my favorites. I watch it every year.
It seems like a weird movie.
Yeah.
That's the impression I get.
Yeah. I wonder if it's one of those movies that like is too dramatic for most of the movie.
Oh,
you know, when it should just be bits.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's only bits. I don't know. If it's only bits, I can handle it.
Bit by bit.
Yes, and then he makes this movie. So then on the screenplay, we have Jeffrey Boehm. Now, we did talk about him last week because he's the guy who did the uncredited rewrites on the first movie to punch it up and make it funnier. And he also wrote The Dead Zone. He worked with others and made The Lost Boys. And he did Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Wow. What a career.
Yeah.
Cool.
The story is by Shane Black and Warren Murphy. And Warren Murphy also is more famous for being an author. And
for what?
It was the series. I was hoping you weren't going to ask.
I'll look it up.
Well, it's just, yeah. And he also wrote Eiger Sanction, a classic for my dad that he always talks about. And he goes, "Have you seen Eiger Sanction?" And I go, "No, I haven't seen it."
Never heard of that.
And then he's always like, "Ooh, you gotta watch Eiger Sanction."
The Destroyer series or something?
Yeah.
Never heard of it. Cool covers. So pulpy.
Is his name on the cover? Warren Murphy?
Yeah, and someone else.
Okay.
Richard Sapir.
Okay, great. There was like a little confusion when I was looking at it, so that's why I just didn't want to even mention it, but you had to bring it up. The cinematography is again by Stephen Goldblatt. And here's something I found interesting. Do you remember how last week the composers were Eric Clapton and Michael Kamen. So they're the composers for this movie, but the guy who played the saxophone also gets a composer credit on this movie. David
the score was
Sanborn.
way less. It was a little bit more. I mean, it was still a lot.
Yeah,
but it was way.
It was a little
It was
tamer.
toned down. Yeah.
Yeah, there was less Clapton.
It was good. It was better.
It was better. Yeah. But I do think that's interesting that he played saxophone in the first one, doesn't get a credit.
Yeah.
Gets a credit.
Go
in this
you for getting that cred.
Go David Sanborn. The movie comes out.
Sunburn.
No, that's what it autocorrects to. The movie comes out July 7th, 1989, a $30 million budget. And I was able to find that out from an article from around that time that was talking about how big movies are getting like really big budgets. And it was citing movies like this and Die Hard 2 that had an astronomical $40 million budget.
Guys, I got some news for you.
I was like, whoa, okay. That's a different
money
outlook.
just meaningless.
It really is. Truly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a great time, since money is meaningless, head over to patreon.com/MicahMcCaw, sign up, and give us some of that meaningless money and get extra bonus episodes. This month it was Tron Legacy. Next Wednesday, we're coming out with Train Spotting. Please? All right. The movie at the box office makes 147, and worldwide it makes 227. Smash
hit.
So here's what happened. Here is what happened. Shane
Black wrote the script, and it was much edgier. It wasn't funny. It was dark. It was bloody. Mel Gibson dies at the end.
So you read all of this?
Yeah. And then they got the script, and they were like, no, can we not make this movie?
Uh-huh.
Big fight. Well, I mean, I don't know if it was a big fight, but they reject his script.
Yeah. Richard Donner and the producers.
Yeah.
Donner wants to focus more. He wants some improvisation and funny stuff in the movie.
And that's what I want.
Yeah.
So they reject it. And then I saw like they do still use some kind of elements from his script and stuff, but it almost just feels like they didn't at all. Like it's just all new. At the same time.
I know. Yeah.
So apparently people still want to see the script. People still want this movie to get made.
Yeah.
But it'll probably never happen.
Yeah. I've also heard that and I'll talk about it later, I heard that he wrote a Lethal Weapon 5 about them being older and stuff, but I don't think they plan to do anything with that. I mean, of course, we all know they've already made 5, 6, and 7.
Yeah, I mean, he's behind, but...
Yeah, so, it's too bloody, it's too dark, dies at the end. And one thing he said that I do think, if you're taking a little more dramatic approach, this does make a lot of sense, is he's like, in the first movie, Riggs is suicidal, and he learns to, like, love life. Mm-hmm. And that at the end of this one, he was going to sacrifice his life for the Murtaughs and save the family. Mm-hmm. So there's a little bit of like poetic, like his character coming to an end. So I think like on a writer level, it's maybe a little more elevated in that term. But, I don't mind that they go the comedic route because I do find this movie funny. Mm-hmm. But he did specifically cite, he doesn't sound bitter because I was looking at some stuff from like from recent.
Yeah.
Recent being like 15 years ago.
Okay.
Well, you know what I mean? It's like way well past this movie. But he did say like there's a scene in the movie where a surfboard, like cuts off a guy's head and he says wipe out. And he's like, that's not a good joke. That's not something I would write. No.
I don't know, Shane. I was laughing pretty hard.
I don't think I heard that he said wipe out. Did we notice that?
No. Who says
Mel
that?
Gibson said
they say so many things. There's not a moment
like
of silence in these movies, and I'm sure the next two are the same. Even if you can't like see them talking on screen, they're talking. It's just constantly filled with words, and you catch what you can. Yeah,
you catch me if you can. So anyway, that's kind of how that went down. And so they talk to I'm forgetting his first name, Jeffrey Boehm, and he writes a hard-boiled version and then a comedic version. And the studio's like, this is great. Can you combine these? Mm-hmm. Which, of course, leads him to just continue rewriting it and not really like, it's not like he was just like, okay, cool, let me put them together. It's like he just had to write another draft and another draft and another draft. And then eventually they're on set and Donner's encouraging enough improvisation that he's
changing things. Yeah.
He's having to write on set.
Yeah.
Which you can feel that in the movie, the improvisational nature of this movie. Yeah, of course, we'll get into the specifics as we go. There's also this guy, Robert Kamen, who did some uncredited rewrite. I wonder if he's related to Michael Kamen, who is in the score. And we're going to talk about him next week because he's going to uncredit on this and then get a credit on the next movie.
For what?
Writing.
Okay.
So the first movie, we have an uncredited writer who upgrades to a writer. The second movie, the same thing happens.
Weird.
That will then happen in the third. And then also Rika, the woman, she was supposed to survive in the movie.
Okay.
Originally.
I saw that their sex scenes were very uncomfortable for her.
Okay. Did you have any specifics?
That she was completely nude and he got to wear a covering.
Oh. Cool.
Yeah. And this one, yeah, and that they're both Catholic.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's interesting. I it's like the late 80s, early 90s, these movies, and I do think like sex scenes like come with the territory. Like that's what was the trend back then.
Uh-huh.
But as far as like characters go, it is a little like off to me that Riggs would be super concerned about that.
About what?
About like picking up this girl and getting laid. It just seems a little weird to me compared to...
Maybe that's what was missing from the last movie. Like someone's a producer's opinion.
Yeah. Because, in the last movie, he specifically, like...
He's still mourning his wife's death.
Yeah, and he gets a sex worker, and they watch the Three Stooges that night and don't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like... I don't know, this doesn't seem like the guy that's worried about that. And it doesn't seem like the guy that's going to last for the 7th inning stretch. You know what I'm saying? Hey, it's all in the movie. It's all in the movie. And there was a crazy shot in it that you pointed out.
Director's cut?
That shot had to be director's cut because it was like a hair's breadth away from seeing the real action downstairs. I mean, really close.
It was wild.
Yeah.
You know it's wild too when it's like scientific on a scientific level when you rewind to try and pick apart what's happening.
Yeah.
Everyone's done
It's for the pod. So that's kind of what I have on the movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Okay.
You spoiled all the best part.
Sorry. Patsy Kensit plays Rika Van Den Haas.
Say that 10 times fast.
She is the daughter of Robert Redford and Mia Farrow. Oh, in The Great Gatsby.
Oh,
okay.
I was like, they have a daughter?
What? Okay.
I'm really glad that's not the case. I was about to...
I was like, where's the book? Where can I read about this?
Oh, you would want to read about that? Yikes.
Absolute Beginners is what she's also in. The Great Gatsby, as I said, as a baby. What is this? Oh, that looked much different. Death in Paradise, which looks like some BBC thing, and a lot of other BBC stuff. Wait a second. Hold on. I don't think so. Okay, never mind. And then Joss Ackland plays Arjun Rudd, like the guy in control.
Oh, yeah.
He's in The Hunt for Red October. We should watch that sometime. I've never seen it.
We should cover that. He's
in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. He's Dave Nomalos.
Okay. Wait. Which
now I'm
which
curious
journey?
If I'm pronouncing it bogus. If I'm pronouncing it like they did, or if I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Well, I think he's a future guy. He's like the god in the future, I think.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I forgot that Death is his main character in this movie. It's so funny, and it's that guy.
Yeah.
I love that series so much.
See our series on Keanu, where we covered it all.
Oh man.
We covered it all.
Derek O'Connor was like the right-hand guy.
Okay.
He's in Deep Rising, Daredevil.
Daredevil what?
The Ben Affleck vehicle. And Brazil.
Okay.
That actually makes sense because he seemed a little familiar.
He did.
To me. And I think that about does it.
You don't want to talk about Joe Pesci?
Oh, right. Dean Norris is also in this.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Hank himself.
From Breaking Bad. So
and
cool.
of course, Under the Dome.
Yeah, but Breaking Bad. Joe Pesci.
Yeah.
Joe Pesci. According to Jersey Boys, the movie, is one of the integral players in Frankie Valli in the Four Seasons.
What a pull.
But he's in Goodfellas. He's in Casino. He's in Home Alone.
Home Alone 2.
It's Joe Pesci.
My Cousin Vinny.
My Cousin Vinny.
And he's one of the rare actors.
He's a national treasure.
He's one of the rare actors.
You have to say that.
He's a national treasure.
Thank you.
He's one of the rare actors where I find he can go too big, and I have no problems with it ever.
Oh, okay.
Like, because he does that often. He just goes too big, and it's like, it's kind of like a Nicolas Cage thing where it's like, all right, cool. I'm on board. You're fully committed to this. And this is a prime example of that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
he's so great. I mean, he's just a big part of my childhood. I feel like of our generation. So
yeah.
It's just, and then, growing up and seeing that he's in all these gangster movies and it's like, there's more, and he's good. Yeah.
I mean, he's perfectly summed up, and I think every role is a version of him just playing that scene from Goodfellas where he's like, oh, you think I'm funny, huh?
Yeah.
You think I'm a funny guy? What is that supposed to mean? Like, that is, every performance I've ever seen him do is that to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
Irishman, weirdly enough, his most reserved performance I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Did he get an Oscar nom for that?
I don't know.
Because that was a crazy performance.
Who did he play that? Like, who was he with? Which one? De Niro or Pacino?
Oh, I think he was De Niro.
Okay.
I think.
I don't remember a lot about that movie, actually.
Yeah, I don't either. I think, and here's what I think, next time I have a little extra cash, we should get the Criterion collection of that, because Netflix sucks, and I was thinking, like, some of these movies that Netflix made that are great, we should buy them physically, because if they ever decide, like, not enough people are buying,
so
like,
it off.
Toilet paper or something, advertising, I don't know, however they do their stuff, however they make their money, they're like, people aren't doing enough of this, so we need to take this movie off. I could see them doing that.
Toilet paper effect.
I was kind of getting it confused with Amazon. Like, hey, we're not getting enough toilet paper sales. It's like, stick to toilet paper, don't make movies and TV.
I think we should just keep going.
Anyway, I'm mad at streaming. I'm done with streaming. I'm ready for it to be over. And I mean, the bubble has burst. So, should we jump into the plot?
Yeah.
So I think that this movie actually is one of the rare movies that is a sequel and immediately announces how you should expect this movie to go immediately within 1 second. Because it says Warner Brothers and it goes and it doesn't finish it, but it starts the Looney Tunes song. And it's not like it's connected to the Looney Tunes in any way beyond it's Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
But this movie really does kind of jump the shark in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
In ways that I enjoy thoroughly.
Same.
So it's not like now it dips in quality. Now it's like, okay, we're just crazier now.
Yeah. Crazy.
It's like John Wick 2.
They're opening it with a car chase.
Yeah.
Great opener.
I do think as this is going, I'm like, this is actually like an excellently choreographed car chase.
There's a lot of extras running around.
A lot of extras.
And a lot of cars.
A lot of great stunts.
Yeah.
A helicopter flying down to pick up the bad guys.
That is just so comical to me.
I love it.
Yeah.
And so that's happening right away. And you're already getting like Riggs and Murtaugh.
Murtaugh like ruins his wife's new car in the process.
Funny.
Yeah.
It's just so I'm like, now I really want to rewatch Shane Black movies because like I just associate all this humor with like his type of humor. And then reading about both movies needing to be punched up because they weren't humorous, I'm like, so what is the Shane Black? Because it feels like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is also this type of humor to me.
Yeah.
Well, maybe a little more clever than like the improvisation in this movie, but something like having to drive around a car that is your wife's and it's progressively getting beaten up and she just bought it. That seems like a Shane Black joke to me. Yeah. And it's like, he probably didn't write that.
No.
So I'm like so confused now about that whole thing.
Yeah, it's interesting.
But yeah, red car, good banter. That's my note on that.
That doesn't help. But they're chasing some blonde guys.
They're chasing a red car.
Yeah,
and
we're
there's a lot of good banter.
They can't figure out if they're German, but they know or what, but they're not American.
Yeah.
And they get away.
Right.
And then I think more or less like next day when they're on The Office, their office command, who I don't know, lieutenant,
please,
lieutenant is saying that they cause too much damage in the city, and it's too much taxpayer money.
Yeah,
you guys are too expensive. Classic superhero situation.
Yeah,
if you're asking me.
Well, classic police situation.
No, just a superhero.
When does that happen in superhero movies? Am I like
they did address
something?
that in one of them.
Yeah.
I'm just making a joke, though.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Am I allowed?
I was just confused. Because this is the classic, the sergeant getting mad. Sergeant, that's what it is. That's what he is.
It?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Or the chief. Could be the police chief. Never mind.
But they say they're sergeants when they're talking to Pesci.
He's the police chief.
I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get rankings.
No.
But everyone in Britain is a lieutenant. I know that.
Yeah. I learned that from the terror. I recently learned that.
Yeah, civilians.
Yeah.
Everyone's a lieutenant there.
Oh.
Her Majesty the Queen, lieutenant.
Yeah. Supreme lieutenant, though.
Supreme
royal lieutenant.
Supreme Chancellor, Lieutenant, Queen. So they're at the station, and then the classic gun in the drawer situation where they're like, "Hey Riggs, try and break out of this straitjacket."
And everyone's taking bets.
Yeah.
They establish, I think, very well that there's like a core group of people that work together. They're all detectives or something. I don't know if they're all working on the same case or what, but like they're a family.
Yeah.
And I love that.
They're having fun.
It's just hilarious to me that they kill all of them later in the movie.
I know.
Hilarious. And I know I'm jumping around, but
yeah, we can do that.
This is why I said we were watching it. It feels like that is so ridiculous that and the way that they do it, that they kill everybody, that I'm surprised that comedians don't reference it more.
Yes, this seems like a touchstone.
Yeah. Like, yada, yada, yada. It's like in Lethal Weapon 2 when they killed the entire squad.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and it's... So this movie, it really dances a fine dance. And I love this movie. It's a core movie to my adolescence, and I love it. But it's kind of one of those things where I'm like, it's one of many movies where I feel like if you're not on board with how insane it is, you're not you just won't enjoy this movie.
Yeah.
And I will say, I think to have this argument now, I guess, I do think, and this is the first time I've thought this, having watched them both back to back, I think the story in the first movie is better. And I do think that movie is like, put on your glasses better. But I'm always going to choose to watch Lethal Weapon 2 over Lethal Weapon 1.
I think this story is better in this one. I think the story's better. I think this movie is shot better. And I think that the acting is better. All across the board, this movie is better.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
I didn't notice a change in the shooting style at all.
It just felt more cohesive to me. And it just felt like the blocking was better. Like, especially in the when they're at Murtaugh's kitchen, the three of them, Riggs, Murtaugh, and Pesci, and they're all like around the counter talking. Yeah. And they're all in frame. It just
Sure. Yeah.
There's more of a harmony, I feel like, visually.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah, no, and now that you mention it, yeah. But yeah, I just feel story-wise, especially the case that they're I guess the comedy in this movie comes before the case.
Absolutely.
And I'm okay with it. Like I said, I would rather rewatch this movie, but I do think that the previous movie has a much more... we talked about it last episode, but I think the case is more interesting and has more what is going on? Whereas this one's it's the Africans and they just have to figure it out.
South Africans. And I said probably verbatim in the last one that the story makes not that it makes no sense, it just feels slapped together. Therefore,
right, and I feel like this one feels slapped together, but... Yeah,
I'm not saying this one's amazing or anything or bulletproof, but... Yeah. I do think it's better. It's strange though. It's probably the only American movie where South Africans are bad guys. I could be wrong, but you don't see that anymore.
I don't know if...
But this also is a very, very sensitive moment in history because apartheid is going to happen within the next few years.
The ending of it is going to happen.
The ending of it.
It's been going on for a while. Yeah.
The ending of it is going to happen within the next few years. I was not alive during this time.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it was like exactly but it seems like a very interesting specific moment and an interesting backdrop for this movie, I guess.
And making fun of racists is always a check for me. I love that. So when he's standing there and he's like, "Oh, the Aryan race just showed up," I'm like, "Yeah," and anytime you can make fun of them, I'm good. I'm good with that. Yeah. So, and it makes for one of my favorite jokes in cinema history, which we'll get to later.
It should be noted that also in this movie, Mel Gibson has an Australian accent, and Mike and I are starting to question if he's never had an American accent in any role he's been in.
Yeah, I think we just grew up with him not even knowing not understanding that element of life.
Yeah.
And we grew up, I just always thought he was an American.
Same.
So,
but now I want to watch like The Ransom.
Yeah, that movie's kind of boring, but yeah.
But I did like such a serious straight shooter movie.
Well, we should watch. Is it Beaver, the one he did with Jodie Foster?
Jodie Foster's in that movie.
Yeah.
You don't need to watch that, but yeah,
it's always funny because that was one of those. They do this thing called like the best unmade scripts or something like that. They call it the Blacklist.
Okay.
Every year, and
Who's so they? Like, what is this?
So like the Writers Association or something, where they pick like, these are like the best scripts that have not been made.
Oh, interesting.
And I think they keep them updated.
And,
and so that was one.
The Beaver.
The Beaver was one that they were like, "What? This is such an amazing script." And then it just happened. I feel like this happens often with a lot of the scripts. It's like they do wind up making some of them, and like 1 out of 5 or 2 out of 5 are like really bad. And it's like, yeah, it works as a script and it doesn't work as a movie.
Oh.
Like it just doesn't work.
Oh.
Isn't that just like so funny?
What's that movie that came out like last year or 2 years ago with Mel and Mark Wahlberg? That right?
Are you talking about Daddy's Home 2?
They're like a priest or something. One of them's a priest.
Oh, Father Stew. And they came out with the Christian one too.
What?
Do you not know about this?
What?
So they... I can't remember actually the order.
Wait, you're kidding me. Because this movie came out and I think my parents, including other people of that political persuasion, were like, "Have you seen Father Stew yet? It's really good." Yeah. It has Mark Wahlberg and Mel Gibson, two famous Catholics.
Yeah.
It's a good movie.
Well, so I can't remember which order, but I believe what they did is they came out with the rated R version because it is like a mature movie.
Yeah,
there's like a lot of cussing in it and stuff like that. And I on one respect, I'm like, here we go. Finally, if you're gonna make something that's quote Christian, like let's face some real life, you know. And then I think that Christmas they came out with like the PG-13 version in theaters, so that you could take your family to go see it.
No, they didn't.
Or they did, yeah.
What, did they just bleep?
I think they just edited the movie so that it didn't have cussing.
I didn't know about that. That's wild.
I know the Christian.
I guess I hope they made some money.
Yeah, they made some money. It's just funny. It's just fun. As a Christian myself,
Is it a story about one of them being like some person from a hard life?
Yeah.
So why can't we just let that character be from a hard life? Like, why do we have to edit them?
Well, it's funny. I listen to the BO boys, and they always break down the Christian releases, and the Christians come up with, and they always say it lovingly. They're like, "We love a good scam," but these Christian companies really come up with a lot of good scams to get people to buy tickets.
Yeah.
And on the one hand, it's like
it makes money.
It's business on the one hand, but also it can get into a manipulation zone.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, well, if you're gonna throw The Chosen on big screens and people come out, that's fine with me. That's cool.
Yeah.
I wish more shows did that. Actually.
Yeah.
I wish I could go see
event.
Stranger Things, the finale in theaters.
Yeah.
But it's Netflix and they suck. Mm-hmm. So more power to them in that regard. But there's some other scams that they've done that are kind of funny. So we won't talk about all of them on mic because I don't want to get in trouble.
No,
but
that's not what we're here to talk about.
No. We're here to talk about Father Stew.
Mel having an Australian accent in everything now, potentially, probably.
I don't think in the one scene I saw him in the Continental before I turned off the show, I don't think he had a Australian accent.
And he probably doesn't in Braveheart.
He probably
does.
Accent.
You know what I mean? But he also can just kind of just do what he wants.
Right.
Because it's European. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I know. Call in. Press 1 for yes and no for why, and tell us what you think. So now we're back in Lethal Weapon 2, right?
Yeah.
I'm like trying to reset here. So then we have this. They're building like the hobby room at the Murtaugh house, and there's the nail gun there, and they both draw their guns on this guy because he's shooting a nail gun.
But that night, his daughter's commercial that she starred in is premiering on TV. This is hilarious.
I love this. I love this joke.
Around the TV waiting for it to come on, and it is for condoms.
Yeah.
And it so funny.
Yeah.
And he told everyone at work to watch it.
Yeah, so later in the movie, they make a tree that is decorated with like condoms blown up.
Yeah.
Like as balloons.
Yeah.
And I think that this joke maybe went over my head for a while. Like I think
if I was a kid, yeah, it would have gone over my head.
Well, I mean, I wasn't a kid. Like I maybe should have probably known.
Yeah, but you're naive little Micah.
I am sweet, naive little Micah. Shout out to the Eden Boys for giving me that name. And then I wrote South Africans breakout.
Yeah. What?
I wrote South Africans breakout.
So Murtaugh and Riggs are causing too much mayhem in the city. So their chief is like, you guys are gonna be posted up with Leo.
Leo Getz, of course.
Leo Getz.
Because he gets things done. Is that what he says?
Leo Getz. Whatever you need.
That's what
he's someone he was like a star witness in this big high profile case about money laundering, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So they're just going to watch him for a couple days, make sure that he's protected and doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Easy assignment. But of course, throughout it, they get wrapped up even further into their investigation. They get Pesci and Riggs and this other guy get thrown out a window, fall like 7 stories into a pool.
And one great thing this movie does, that again, I think most movies do, is they really emphasize how short Joe Pesci is.
Uh-huh.
And they kind of push him around in ways that are quite funny.
They straight up abuse him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Abuse of the witness.
Something that I don't think...
Briggs is punching him in the pool.
You're thinking it's the
other guy.
This movie's pretty funny. Something that I have never picked up on in these movies, and this feels so stupid to me. Like it feels very like when they try to set up dumb like names in superhero movies and stuff like that. Anyway, like prequel-y kind of things is how it feels. Is that a lot of Mel Gibson, Riggs's fighting style is inspired by the Three Stooges because he watches it a lot. And this is supremely stupid.
It's so dumb. And later on in the movie, when he's picking up the Rika girl in the grocery store, and this is an 80s movie. Tell me it's an 80s movie without telling me it's an 80s movie. He's trying to pick up this girl in a grocery store, and she's telling him no profusely, and he will not take no for an answer and makes her leave with him. But while he's doing that, he goes, boop, like he's going to poke her eyes, like Three Stooges style.
Yeah. Whoop, 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 whoop.
That is so crazy.
Well, because I think in the first movie, doing it, and I think he does it too much in the first movie as well, I'm pretty sure. But doing it the one time at the Christmas tree lot, I think is funny.
Yeah.
They're like a bunch of dopes, and he's pulling one over on them. Do it the once, and then you see him watching Three Stooges, and you're like, okay, that's kind of funny. But the fact that like some of his fighting, it's like he is like it's not like I use the fighting style of Crouching Tiger or like
Well, Jet Li gets in here later, and,
Wing Chun or something like that. He's like, no, I am Three Stooges.
I
am Curly. I am Mo. I am Larry.
Choice. I love Three Stooges as much as the next guy, but interesting choice. Pretty funny in this movie when he's watching the Stooges with his dog, and he's just laughing like a child,
very loudly.
Too much.
Well, it's like that scene. Remember in a Ghost Rider when he turns on the TV and within a second he's like, ha 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 ha, because there's a monkey that's like eating a banana. It's crazy.
This is a Seinfeld episode.
Okay, let's pull back the curtain.
Pie.
Let's pull back the curtain.
Pie. Just take a bite.
Here's what happened, folks. As you may or may not know, we have a child, and she only slept for a half hour, so we weren't able to record a whole lot. Usually these take us 2 sittings now with the baby. And so we stopped the recording.
You're using precious time to explain this.
Yeah, and then we pulled it up just now.
It's a whole other day, and we're recording we're continuing our record.
But
That's all you need to say.
No. But I just wanted to say we pulled it up, and I usually go back like a few seconds just to be like, oh yeah, that's what we were talking about, and I even marked in my notes where we're at in the movie. But
The movie
in Wooder, but all of a sudden I go back and I'm talking about bananas and a monkey, and I look at Jordan and I'm like, what in the world were we talking about? She remembered we were talking about Ghost Rider. I did not. That's how podcasting works these days. It's crazy. So they've met Joe Pesci. They find out he's like laundering money for the South Africans.
Really? Oh, yeah. But he's going to stand on trial. He's going to witness for the prosecution.
Yeah, great movie.
But they're continuing to investigate what's happening. I guess this investigation.
We mentioned the pool, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And this essentially leads them to this cool-looking house in the Hollywood Hills.
Perfect. Yes. Yeah.
And they go in.
So
and they see them counting money.
There's kind of this funny thing that I couldn't quite figure out, but Leo's like, yeah, I once met at this house. And he's like, I know that the numbers add up to 28 because that's my lucky number or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And he's just doing classic Joe Pesci funny stuff. And then they're driving around just looking for this address. The police chief has told them, don't look for this. Okay?
Yeah, you're going to spill your tea.
Oh, thank you. So they're just driving around. And then finally they get it on like the 7th address.
No, the 9th.
The 9th.
The 9th house.
Funny. They get to the 9th house. Which I feel, that sounds like a book title.
It is a book.
It is,
I've read it. Lee Bardugo.
Is it good?
Yeah, it's pretty good. Right? Is that the book?
Yeah, The 9th House.
I have to make sure, but you can keep talking.
Okay. And then they get there, and then they're like, oh, let's just kind of look around. And they look around, and lo and behold, they have a pretty wild name for their money, which I can't remember.
The kroner?
The kroner? Yeah.
Isn't that Dutch? Or is that South African?
Well, I remember the Dutch went to South Africa, so
I know that because I told you that.
Yeah, but they even said it in the movie. So, like, yeah, they used the Dutch kroner.
Basically, I think they recognized the guys that we started this movie off with the car chase. So they're like, those are the guys we were going after. So they barge in.
Yeah.
And they're trying to take care of business.
Yeah.
And they also recognize the guy from the hotel that they fell in the pool with. So that guy runs away, and they're chasing after him, more or less.
Yeah.
So then we have another car chase.
I'm just laughing at what's gonna happen.
I know. It was really good. It was great. It was a great.
Yeah, the car chase is cool. And
sorry, Shane Black, but
the stunts are kind of wild.
At one point, Mel Gibson's character, Riggs, is on the grill of the car.
Yeah.
As it's still driving. And he's about to get smashed by another car, but slams on the brakes. A surfboard flies off that car and like decapitates the guy. It's pretty hilarious.
It is hilarious. And you know what? This will maybe blow your mind, Jordan. But as I was just trying to put Talia down to sleep, I thought, you know what? Lethal Weapon 2
You're gonna spill your tea again.
I was thinking, you know what? Lethal Weapon 2 is better than Lethal Weapon 1.
Okay.
I had to say it.
It took a pause in recording to get you to admit that.
And it's almost like the potential. I don't know. It's like I want to be on the Shane Black writer side.
Yeah.
You know, and I still kind of think on like a heady level, maybe Lethal Weapon 1 is better. But if you're gonna rewatch one more, maybe that's the better one. You know what I mean?
It is.
So
I don't want to say there's no argument against. There's no contest, but it is my opinion. But
I think my sister and my dad, who I'm sure are so excited that we're covering Lethal Weapon, we haven't told them. Although I'm sure my dad suspects since we borrowed the movies from him. I'm sure they're going to be listening right now and be like, okay, good.
For what?
That I said Lethal Weapon 2 is better.
Oh, okay.
So then they get back to the house and they've like arrested everybody. But then we find out about
they do. That's what happens after
diplomatic immunity.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's when he says, I don't remember your name. I'll just call you Adolf.
Yeah, but then he also calls him, I think, a dickhead like twice in this scene. That made us laugh pretty hard. Sorry.
Yeah. Any accented dickhead, you can get away with it, you know?
No, well, Mel says it.
I know.
Oh, well, I guess accented. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of Australian when he says it. Because, you know, my sister, one of her teachers in high school who wasn't there when we got there. He always said, or no, he was the principal, Mr. Perry,
who was not Australian.
No.
Did he call people dickheads?
No, and maybe it wasn't him.
He wasn't there. I think my sister had him, and then by the next year he was gone.
But he was a principal when we were there.
Nope.
But yeah, he was.
Maybe for 1 year.
I got in trouble by him. He was the principal of our freshman year. I don't want to talk about it on mic.
What? You have to tell me. Just cut this out.
I'm not going to tell you right now. I can tell you later.
Have I never known this?
I've told you, yeah. I got in trouble. That's all. But I got let off on a warning, so it's fine.
What did you do?
Just we're not going to talk about it on the VOD. But what happened was, I guess he told his class that when you say shut up, maybe it wasn't him, it was someone. When you say shut up, if you say it in an English accent, you can't get in trouble because then it sounds more polite.
Shut up.
Yeah, so dickhead's kind of like that. If you say it in an American accent, it sounds terrible. But if you go, you dickhead, you know?
Do you want me to close the door?
Yeah, please. So, yes, this is when they find out, and me as a young child find out, about something called diplomatic immunity, which I don't know how... I don't know much about beyond this movie. They
kind of made up some of this stuff, right? Because they're, they are committing a crime.
But I think there definitely is diplomatic immunity.
I understand there being loopholes, but they're drug running.
Well, because
that's just illegal.
People have gotten a lot. I mean, diplomats have done a lot of bad stuff.
Yeah,
and gotten away with it. Let's see. On Wikipedia, diplomatic immunity is a principle of international law by which certain foreign government officials are recognized as having legal immunity from the jurisdiction of another country. Let's just see if there's...
That's so broad. I mean, I know this is just Wikipedia, but...
Uses and abuses. On-duty officer Yvonne Fletcher was murdered in London in 1984 by a person shooting from inside the Libyan embassy during a protest. The incident caused a breakdown in diplomat relations until Libya admitted general responsibility in 1999.
So that person, I'm assuming, never got arrested for it because of that?
Yeah, they didn't... The country didn't assume general responsibility until 1999, 15 years later.
That's strange.
Yeah, there's other stuff that we don't want to talk about that's not good, where you can imagine where people with power go. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there.
And what was that thing you did in high school that you got in trouble for?
I'm not going to talk about it on mic.
Diplomatic immunity.
I have podcastilic immunity. So
you're gonna spill your tea all over yourself. You're playing fast and loose with that tea.
So then we get to this section, and Jordan and I, sweet, naive little Jordan and I,
apparently you're not so sweet and naive as we all thought.
We get to the F you in the drive-through scene, and I'm just saying F you. Too bad the Eden Boys aren't on this episode because they could really pull the weight on that.
We've used up our quota. We said dickhead too many times.
Yeah, that was the last time that we're gonna say dickhead. And this is just so indicative of. This just feels so 90s, even though this movie is 89. It just feels so 90s to complain about the drive-thru like it is like you're on stage at Madison Square Garden or something to a crowd of people. Or maybe just a little comedy club. Maybe that's a better example.
Big Dreamer.
But yeah, Joe Pesci is just doing the FU in the drive-thru. They always
Be careful. Drink some of the tea already. Let me talk about it. Drink some of this darn tea. Yeah, he said that they just F you through the drive-thru because by the time you notice that they've made a mistake, you're already a mile down the road, yada, yada, yada. He says it better than I did.
Keep talking. I'm trying to write something down.
I mean, that's the joke. It's really funny. Isn't there another FU thing in the next movie? I have seen the third one then.
Well, I think
he does another thing.
I think he does another thing, but in the fourth one, Chris Rock's like, man, they really F you with cell phones.
Maybe I have seen all of these movies.
Which seems like a bridge too far, if you ask me.
Yeah.
If it that these characters in this real life world would have these bits like this, Nobody has bits like this. Wink, wink. Me, I'm a bit boy. So is it looking better? Oh my gosh. I have to tell you, I just got a notification from Apple, and it told me that Hannibal Rising is now available on VIX First of all, I don't know what VIX is. And second of all, why is Apple telling me about Hannibal Rising?
Because you've talked about it a lot.
One of the
You've
worst
talked about
movies
Hannibal
I've ever
a lot,
seen.
and then that movie you've talked about for, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half. So Apple's like, you're the only person who clearly is in love with this movie.
That's kind of
You would
weird,
wanna know.
Because I also saw someone recently rewatch it on Letterboxd.
Because it's on VIX.
I guess, what is VIX?
I don't know.
Video
Vapor rope?
Video inside xylophones? Anyway, so they F you in the drive-thru. Then we get to the real catalyst of this movie, the real meat of this movie. What other movie franchise is going to put your hero on a toilet strapped to a bomb on the toilet? I said it wrong.
Not many movies.
Jordan, you got to carry this episode. I'm losing it.
Is on the toilet. He's been on the toilet since last night.
Numb legs.
And there is a bomb strapped to it. If he gets off, boomtown.
Yeah.
So they get the bomb squad in there to figure out the situation. They just put some CO2 around it, and then they're like, jump fast.
Yeah.
That's kind of all they can do, I guess.
Even though they've taken out the cabinet, and they should have a pretty good angle to like start like removing it.
They didn't really talk about what type of bomb it was, so I guess that's got to be it. And Briggs is like, well, I have to help him. His legs are numb, so I have to pull him off the toilet. The guy's like, oh, okay, yeah, take my vest. Risk your life.
Yeah.
Jump into that bathtub.
It's a good cast iron tub. It'll hold you.
So pretty funny. I thought it was cute that right before they jump, Murtaugh's like, like he was, he's saying, I love you.
Yeah. That's
sweet.
Very good character stuff. I like that.
And then there is a big explosion and the toilet is blown off whole.
Yeah.
Not in pieces. So I think he would have flown out. I think he would have been fine.
No, the first movie is better, but the second
one... No, it's not.
The second one is more bombastic.
It's fun. They lean into it.
Yeah.
That's why I like it.
It's funny because I don't remember if I said this yesterday or not, dear listener, but it's just funny how quickly they cross the line of self-parody. They go from one movie to this movie really truly feels like we're in self-parody zones. But it's very fun. So yeah, they have the toilet thing. It makes me also wonder, is there a big explosion like this in every movie?
There's several explosions in this movie.
Yeah, but like in the first one, that one lady's house blew up. They spoof that in Family Guy, in the first movie one.
Okay.
And Brian and Stu are jumping away from it, and it shows different angles, and it repeats the explosion, I think maybe 20 times.
Is it?
And they just keep jumping.
Anytime I feel like you tell, besides that Stephen King one, which was funny that you showed me, but it feels like all of the jokes that you tell me, like the joke that they do is they just do that 15 times.
It could be. Those are the ones that stuck with me, I guess. They also have this great bit that they started. I don't watch the show anymore, but I think I watched like 13 seasons. So I've seen a fair amount of Family Guy. But they had this great bit where like they would be in the middle of an episode, and then they'd go, "Ladies and gentlemen, Conway Twitty," and the camera pans to the side, and it's a real life performance of this old country star from like the 60s, and they would play the entire video of him performing.
That's funny.
And sometimes I think that would be like that they would play till the end of the episode, and that was the episode, like unresolved.
Okay.
And they just look at the camera, "Ladies and gentlemen, Conway Twitty."
Okay.
And they've done that a lot of times. It's very funny.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, the show has its moments for sure.
Yeah.
And that's how I learned that Laura Bush killed a guy, because they repeated that in the show
Car crash?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They look at the camera and they make sure that Laura Bush killed a guy. Anyway, so that's how I learned about that. Okay. It's weird how we learn about things sometimes in life.
So can we get to when they just kill everyone off their squad?
No, because we have to get to the best scene in the movie, the best scene in the franchise. And that is Murtaugh goes down to the South African embassy. And this is where my personal story comes in.
Yeah.
And he comes in, and this amongst my sister and I was something we would quote around the house all the time.
Yeah.
And my dad as well. And he gets there, And of course, there's apartheid. And Joe Pesci comes in and he's like, hey, my friend wants to immigrate to South Africa. And the guy's like, great. It's a great place to live. I can help you out with that. And then in walks Murtaugh. And the guy is totally shocked. And he goes, you should listen to your friend. You shouldn't do this. And the guy's like, why? I want to go there. It's where my ancestors are from. I want to go
help.
there.
Oh, he wants to protest. He wants to help end apartheid.
And then he goes, but you're black. And then
Pesci looks at him and he's like, you are black.
You are. He is. Or he says he is, and then he says, you are.
Yeah.
And then so that right there is like hilarious. That's a great joke. But then he starts saying like Murtaugh starts saying to him, hey, like, you're the fascist white regime. And then Joe Pesci is kind of loosely repeating it. And he's like, yeah, the fascist white regime. And he keeps on repeating stuff. Uh-huh. And then he says, my favorite delivery, he goes, free South Africa, you dumb son of a bitch. And then Joe Pesci says, you dumb son of a bitch. And it is the funniest, it's just the funniest thing for us macaws. That just like tickles our heart and soul. And it's so funny. And it's a great scene. Would you agree it's a great scene?
What's the personal story?
But well, do you like?
Oh, it's a great scene. Yeah,
it's funny. So, and we were younger.
Does it have anything to do with you being in trouble?
No, stop asking. So, my sister and I were home alone, and we were like,
Joe Pesci.
I teed you up for that. We were like, on Facebook or something, like hanging out at the computer. And we just start quoting this thing back and forth.
On Facebook to each other?
No. We're in the same room.
Oh, okay.
Like just on the computer together, like watching YouTube or doing something. And we're just quoting it back and forth and just like laughing. And mind you, good little Christian kids, younger, and we're talking about this, and we are going, son of a bitch. We're saying bitch. Mm-hmm. And we're just like quoting it, and we're like, mom and dad are at home, we can say it and just quote this hilarious line in this movie. And then my sister pulls out her phone, and we're hearing this like, hello? And it's my grandma Blanche, my dad's mom. And the phone call was like 20 minutes long, and she'd just been sitting there listening to us.
Did your sister butt dial her?
She did.
What?
Yeah. Or she called and answered, and then my grandma just sat there and listened.
Well, why wouldn't she? She's getting a show.
And
that's
so,
pretty hilarious.
And we were so nervous because we had been saying bitch so much.
Well, what happened?
Nothing. She was just like, hey, and we were kind of like, oh, did you hear what we were talking about?
Was she just nice? And she was like, no, I didn't hear anything.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a little anticlimactic.
There wasn't a time later that day or that week where your parents sat you guys down and was like, Grandma Blanche called.
No.
That's so weird.
Isn't that funny though?
It's funny.
So yeah, that's my second of 4 personal lethal weapon
have
stories.
You ever texted someone like you're texting your friend about someone else? Oh. And you accidentally text the person that you're talking about?
I'm sure I have.
I've done that before.
What happened?
Someone said that they liked this person and this person liked him back, and I was like, no, there's no way. This person's a little exaggerating, known to exaggerate. So it's like this person doesn't like you. And I think I was probably meant to text Sydney or someone. I'm
remembering this. So
like, did you hear about that? Like, this person thinks that this person likes them. Like, probably like there's no way. And I texted that other person.
The person who said that all to you.
No, the person. The
likey.
The likey. No. Person 1 says person 2 likes me. I meant to text person 3 about that, but I accidentally texted person 2.
Oh.
And then person 2 texted me back and was like, no, I don't. So I got my answer.
Yeah.
But I felt so bad.
Can you just tell me who person 2 was?
Davis.
Ah, okay. All right. Davis, if you're listening, if you want to go on a second date, we'll pay for it. That was a comedy bang bang joke, I said. So, all of that. And then Riggs kind of randomly just hooks up with the South African girl. It's kind of like, we need romance in the movie.
And we need a sex scene. It's an 80s movie.
Kind of a graphic
We
one.
need to cut to it a lot.
Yeah. And then they start killing off the police. And Jordan, I cede the floor to you, please.
Well, it's just because, like I said earlier, they really established this core group of people. I feel like they all had great chemistry. They're all having a fun time. Probably had a fun time on set, it felt like.
Yeah.
And then they all start getting killed, and it's like, oh, that's why they're here. It's just to get killed. And the funniest one that we had to rewind to watch was the lady cop is going to go for like a morning dip. Gets on, she takes off her robe, gets on the diving board, and jumps off. And there's a giant explosion behind her, and the stunt person looks like a mannequin.
It probably is.
Do you think it? I didn't even think about it. But yeah, so
I didn't either.
There's just a stiff body
that's flipping in the air in a diving position,
and like not even part of the explosion.
Yeah.
Not to say that wouldn't kill somebody, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just so funny because it's like. It's just such a creative way to kill somebody.
It looked so stupid.
So bad.
And I needed a rewind on that one.
Yeah. And then we cut to like all these guys playing poker, and one of them opens the fridge, and we assume it's him opening the fridge that blows up the whole house. We don't know for sure.
Yeah.
But that would mean that they hadn't drank any beer yet.
4 of them were at poker complaining why the other guys weren't there at poker. Like, I think Riggs and Murtaugh weren't there and saved their lives by not being there.
Yeah.
But they all died. They got like 4 and 1.
Yeah.
I can't remember the first person how they died, but I think they got shot or something.
Yeah, they got a boring death.
And then while Riggs is getting ready for that 7th inning stretch, helicopter comes in and starts spraying bullets at his mobile home. And him and Rika barely make it out. The dog makes it out. I like that they made a point to make sure that the dog was okay. The dog got out with them. And yeah, they get out safely. He takes her back home, and they're joking about what a wonderful first date this is.
Yeah.
Or, a crazy first date. You can stay with me because you don't have anywhere to stay now.
Yeah.
Okay, I will. I gotta go. That's what they were talking about.
Gotta go to work.
Yeah.
And then we have, I'll say it, one of the most impressive one-shots I've ever seen in a movie.
Yeah. Very nonchalant.
Because it's all character-based, and it depends on an animal doing something.
Yeah.
It's very silly.
Yeah.
Mel walks out of the
not only walks out, he slides.
And then he slides.
Like a good, 10 feet.
Yeah, well, optical illusion perhaps, but...
Okay, but it looked far.
Yeah, he slides, and it's like, okay, that's impressive. He walks around his car, opens the door, same shot. These people pop up behind him, hit him on the back of the head.
What did they hit him with? A shoe?
I think it was like a pipe.
Okay.
And then he kind of comically, it's like Three Stooges is the way he passes out. I know. That's his fighting style and his passing out style. And then
his death style determines his lifestyle or whatever it is.
My lifestyle determines my death style.
Yeah.
Metallica, the best album they ever made, Saint Anger. And then they start dragging him away. And the camera pans to them, and then it pans back to the back of the car, and the dog pops up behind under.
I saw the whole thing, and then it pops back down a little bit, up and then again, pops back down.
And I know that it's just a trainer telling it to go up and down, but it actually looks like the dog's like, uh-oh, what happened? Oh, wait a second, I better hide. Wait, what happened? Okay, I know what to do.
I know, it was so realistic.
Some of the best dog acting I've ever seen, frankly.
Yeah.
Lassie, eat your heart out. So that's also one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And
impressive.
It's an impressive shot. It's just so funny how I
think we were saying that either took way too many takes or it took 2 takes. And they were so happy. They probably were done for the day. I know it was at night, but done for the day.
Judging by the way he fainted, it was probably 2 takes. It's just funny because back in the day, they just used to do more in one shot.
Uh-huh.
And your change of your change of composition would be your quote change of shot. You know what I mean? So you'd pan to a different spot and it would look different, but it's still the same shot. And so I just think there was a higher chance of things like this happening that are kind of, when you look back, you're like, that's kind of incredibly impressive somehow.
Yeah.
But man, you know what shot I just keep thinking about? That's one of the most impressive one shots I've ever seen. Is in
Aaron Brockovich. Oh wait, no, that wasn't a
No.
one shot. We determined that.
Well, that was very impressive.
Yeah.
But it was the opening shot of Maestro.
The opening shot.
The opening shot of Maestro was like that's when I knew.
How does it open?
Well, 1 second. Let me set it up.
With him at the interview, because that's the first shot.
I'm sorry. The first shot in the bass.
Okay.
Because this shot was when I knew, Bradley Cooper is here to stay as a director.
Oh, that shot.
Because
that shot was crazy.
You have the shot where like a phone rings. It's like basically pitch black.
This is movies. This is why we go to the theater. And what am I doing? I'm sitting on my ass at home watching this movie.
You dumb son of a bitch. But it's a shot, and there's just in like the right corner, the right bottom corner, there's just some light, and he's just kind of silhouetted, and he takes this phone call. And you can only kind of see his silhouette, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And then he pulls back these curtains, and it completely transforms the shot. And you also see he's in bed with someone, and you learn all this stuff about him just by the way they presented
not just
the
someone
shot.
a man, which is yeah.
So like this whole thing, I was like, I literally thought like, oh, this is an interesting shot. When he pulled back the curtain, I was like, oh, this is movies, baby. And then on top of that, when I see that he's with a man, I'm like, I already know about this character. Like, and then he walks out, and then it's a fake oneer after that. But he like walks out into the auditorium, and it like tracks him the whole way.
Shot.
Awesome.
That's a transition.
Magic movie. Guys, if you haven't watched Maestro,
go see it in theaters now
great.
because it's nominated for Best Picture. So now you can see it in theaters. Most likely where you live. I mean, if we can, that means you can.
Yeah. We're probably going to see it in theaters again.
Yeah.
Because it was such a disappointment to watch it at home.
Yeah.
And it was such a magic movie.
Yeah.
It's really good. And I just feel like it's like not getting its due, even though it's critically well received.
Yeah, but I mean, you have your finger on the pulse more than I do about that stuff. But like, because it sounds like audience wise, people are like, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, do not sleep on this movie.
Yeah, people are kind of calling it like I listened to Blank Check's episode, and it seems like people are kind of calling it like a standard biopic. This is not standard at all.
That makes me speechless when someone would say something like that.
It is so creative, and there's like artistic license in ways that I haven't seen in any biopics.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we'll talk about that more,
movie.
Or we have talked about it on a previous episode a couple weeks ago, so we'll save it for that. But yeah, meanwhile, while all of this is happening, Murtaugh is like, they saw in Riggs had gone to the South African consulate. He snuck up there. That's why they did the whole diversion.
Yeah.
And he found out on a pad of paper they were looking for this thing. I don't remember what it was called.
Turned out to be a boat.
Yeah, and Riggs is like, or Murtaugh is like, oh, that reminds me of something. And he looks up his birthday video, and they're out on his boat. And the whole time,
the giant cargo ship.
Yeah, and he's just kind of like, oh yeah, that was my birthday.
It's just that, again, there's just not an ounce of silence.
Well, you don't have to talk through this, bud. And then he sees it, and it's like, oh, it's this cargo ship. Okay. So now we've done all that. We also find out that one of the South Africans killed Mel Gibson's wife.
Nope. Oh, yeah.
You're so
I thought
confident.
You meant the other girl.
And so they capture him.
So now it's even more personal.
Yeah, this time it's personal.
Actually, yeah, this time it is personal.
Yeah.
They throw him into the water, chained.
And eagle-eyed listeners will note that at the beginning of the movie, he was in a straitjacket and escaped.
I think we know how this one's going to end. He gets out. He sees Rika is dead, which I don't really understand the timeline on how that one worked, but she's dead.
Yeah. And that's just kind of a waste.
I think it's so lame.
It's like, why was she in the movie? I don't.
She was in the movie to have sex with him.
Yeah.
That's what that proves.
Yeah. So that's a waste.
Yeah. Sorry. She was in the movie to give him back his humanity. Is that what you wanted to hear?
Are you talking to me?
The public.
You talking to me? So then Riggs and Murtaugh are like, or Riggs is like, I'm unhinged. I'm going.
I'm not a cop tonight, is what he says.
And Murtaugh's trying to stop him. And I do like how he's like, you can't do this. And then he's like, all right, let's do this. You know, it's kind of an opposite of the first movie.
Yeah. I'll give you my signal. What's it going to be? You'll know. You could just tell me.
That's a classic movie trope that I'm like, okay, we can't do this anymore. Yeah. I don't like that because as a viewer, I'm stressed.
Also, what was it?
It was him connecting the car to his toe. Or, I mean,
what?
Taking the tow line and strapping it around the house foundation and driving, making the house collapse. That was his signal.
Okay.
But I think what filmmakers, if you're listening, and I know we have, I know Steven Spielberg, of course, is a huge listener. Just cut away when they say, what's the signal? Just cut away.
Yeah.
Don't have them respond. You'll know. It's stupid. So then they do exactly what I just said. And they get they kill some of them, right?
I think. Yeah. And then they get to the ship.
Yeah. And then a cargo. They get captured in the scene because then they get put in that cargo container.
They make it to the.
Your correction you're about to say is right.
Cargo area. They disarm some of the dudes, get into the container that they need, and see that it's full of money and there's a car in there. But more, they found the booty.
Yeah.
But then someone closes.
Well, Mel already found the booty 20 minutes ago in this movie.
They close the cargo container on him.
Yeah.
And our bad guys like, next time they'll see Sun is in South Africa or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they shoot the car out of the cargo container with all the money.
Fun.
Yeah. And then they're chasing all each other around the ship.
Yeah. This scene, funny enough, it's like the car part is great.
Yeah.
And the fight with Mel is okay.
You don't need it.
It's just a little, I felt like it was not as cool as a cargo fight as you'd hope.
Why is it, maybe we've talked about this before, but like sometimes these last action things are just never as exciting as the other ones.
Yeah.
And why is that have something to do with like the story, how we're like the rising action, the climax, and because basically in this movie, the climax to me was Riggs being thrown into the water, girl dead, Murtaugh also fighting for his life in his home because they come to his home.
Yeah.
That's like the climax. And then the fallout is what they're going to do about it.
Yeah.
And then that's all this cargo stuff. But it just feels like it's an extra, like an act 4.
So, okay, what comes to my mind is I think writing-wise, you always kind of want to end on like the personal note.
Yeah.
And so to get personal is like you got to get up close in order to do so. And I think that is satisfying to the viewer. But I do think sometimes it's like, well, we saw someone get blown off of a diving board in this movie. I kind of would rather like the entire cargo ship explode or something insane like that. I think it's like, you know what? Here's what I think it is. I'm kind of thinking through these thoughts right now. It's not nailing the personal element.
Okay.
That makes the final battle not seem good.
Okay.
Because I'm thinking of 2 movies in the same franchise. John Wick 1, the ending of the movie, he has a fight in the rain with a bad guy, and by the director's own admission, he's like, you know what? When we got to a certain point where it's like you just got to do fists and you got to do it in the rain, and it's kind of the lamest battle in that movie. But in that same franchise, you have John Wick Chapter 4 that ends with a Western duel that has a fun twist and is very personal and includes, the great Donnie Yen. And I feel like that one just nails more like the personal and emotional aspect that the whole movie has been building to. So it does feel like that's the climax, even though it's just 2 people shooting a gun once.
Yeah.
In a movie where we've heard like millions of gunshots.
Yeah.
And so in this, it's like, well, you have this opportunity with Mel and the guy to beat it, that they have to fight. And, he drops a container on him. That's fun. But there's just a lack of like, I guess maybe we haven't sat with the distress long enough for that fight to be that cathartic to us.
No. And it's like, and we don't even know for sure, but like if that's the guy that killed his wife, maybe there just wasn't enough time to process that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. So I think that's what I would say is one of the main reasons.
Yeah, I like that.
But I do think that emotionally it worked well, although the fallout of it, I have no idea. when the guy comes out and he goes, diplomatic immunity. And then
Murtaugh shoots him.
Danny Glover just shoots him and he goes, has been revoked.
Yeah.
That's got the catharsis for me. Though I think that means that he's going to be like living in Guantanamo the rest of his life for shooting a diplomat.
Yeah.
But maybe not.
Well, I mean, there's another. We just gotta wait until the next movie, see what happens. But Riggs almost is, shot, stabbed, whatever.
Yeah.
And Murtaugh's like, you can't die until I tell you to die. And Riggs is like, okay, I won't die.
Well, he does a great thing
it's cute.
too.
It's a cute moment.
Yeah, where he's like, reach into my pocket. And, he's like, you don't die on me, you don't die on me. And he pulls out cigarettes. And then he's like, has him light a cigarette for him.
And he's like, I should really quit these. They'll kill me someday.
Yeah. And then they start laughing. And then he's like, what, you want to kiss me or something while we're here? Or he says something like that. And I'm like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
That's why these movies work at the end of the day, is their repertoire. Rapport.
Yeah.
No, rapport, not repertoire. And that's Lethal Weapon 2.
What happens after that? Is that how the movie ends?
Yeah. This was one that kind of ends with the crane shot kind of thing.
Love it.
A la Dirty Harry.
I love it.
Yeah, we love a good crane.
The movie was great.
It's a good movie. Yeah, they're both good. I love these movies.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so curious about the next 2 weeks. I know I'll just say it. We got Dan and Jeremy Eden back for Lethal Weapon 4, and they are excited. They say they have a lot of personal memories with Lethal Weapon 4.
Okay,
so
great.
As much as that's the least rated movie, I think they're probably going to provide their classic charm and probably convince us that it's one of the best ones.
Whatever.
And I already plugged Patreon earlier.
Yeah.
Oh, I will say this.
When does this come out?
I'm going to double check. But talk, Jordan, talk quick.
Did you say it was maybe March?
It is a March episode, and
Okay.
I'm scrolling to it now. This episode comes out March 1st.
So, as people may or may not have seen, May 17th, I'm doing a gallery show with my good friend Ren Panter, where we're sharing our art at Central Art Gallery. May 17th is the opening. It's from 5 to 8. Would love to see locals there.
Yeah.
For that, working on a lot of new stuff. It's scary. It's fun. It'll be great. And then on May 4th, I'm doing Medford Comic Con with Ren as well. Never done anything like that. So that will also be scary and fun. And then May 11th, probably doing Made in Southern Oregon and Central Point.
Cool. Yeah.
May is a big month.
Lots of opportunities to see Jordan's art and lots of opportunities to buy
the art. You can buy all of it.
Yeah. And at the art gallery, there's going to be like big pieces.
Uh-huh.
That will be Buco Dolores.
I'll be reprinting zines and coloring books and the like.
Yeah, so come out to that stuff. And if we don't know you, come up to us and say, I'm an MPUer. And tell us which Shrek movie you think is the best. Was that everything for you?
I think so.
Okay, for me, this month, March 23rd, you need to cancel any plans you have, and you need to go to the Eden Ballroom in Grants Pass. I don't know what time the show is at this moment. It'll probably be 6 or 7, because it is the 10-year anniversary of my very first album, Till Life Turns Over. I have a 6-piece band. We will be performing the album in its entirety, but mixed up. And on top of that, Sean Siders is going to be premiering his new project as an opener. It's going to be crazy. There's going to be...
As what?
He's kind of gone back and forth, so I'm not going to say it at this moment. And this is going to be filmed. This is going to be filmed as a concert film. We are gathering audio. I'm going to make a concert album, concert film. This is the real deal, folks. So get on the film.
Yeah.
You can then you'll be able to log the Till Life Turns Over 10-year anniversary on Letterboxd and IMDb, afterward, once it's on there and the movie comes out. But, this is going to be crazy. And this is the concert of the year. If you're local, come. If you're not local, I already know of some people that are coming up from California to see the show. So, let's get someone from Maine at the show. Let's get one person from each 50 states.
Great. We can do that.
All right. See you next week when we talk about Lethal Weapon 3.
See ya.